genre.
In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the Ideal. I'm Sam Gasch, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. Thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. We're here to remake today's movie because Semien couldn't refuse the order, and I've been trapped inside this podcast for years. I'd run away, but I don't have legs. Ah, well. So, Semien, is Ella Enchanted a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade?
Should be remade.
Okay.
It absolutely should be.
So, hi.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back. Second time.
Yeah, so for anyone who didn't listen to Beverly Hills Ninja, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Semien Abay. I'm pursuing writing, television writing, currently working as an assistant in entertainment. It's been very glamorous, of course. Been here in LA for 6 years, originally from the Bay Area. And yeah, I think that about sums up my entirety of life. So
Dope.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Ella Enchanted. So you said you did read the book.
I was obsessed with the book.
Okay.
I was obsessed. I started reading it for the first time, I think, when I was like 7 or 8. And I reread it every single time I could go to the library. I would like recheck it out again. And then eventually, sometime in like high school, I actually bought the book. So I was just obsessed with that book. I think it was... I'd never read, not that it is a romance book, but that was like the closest thing to like a romance fiction type book before I'd ever even knew what that genre was.
It is romance YA.
And there is romance in it, but it's not the central part of the story.
Fair enough.
Because for those who don't know, Ella Enchanted is essentially a Cinderella retelling.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize until maybe 10 to 15 years later.
So it was pointed out to me before we started watching the movie. I watched the movie with my friends Cam and Kamara. Kamara has been a guest on the show before as well. Mm-hmm. And Kamara was like, oh, Kamara also read the book a lot when she was a kid. And she was honestly a little bit upset that I was remaking this movie without her. She was very insistent. Was like, I sure hope your guest has read the book. I sure hope your guest has read the book.
Kamara, I got you, girl. Because there were the Ella Enchanted girlies. Like, that was a book that a lot of girls, I think, were obsessed with, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people were aware, except, like I don't know. I don't know what I would compare it to nowadays, but like it was something that just girls were obsessed with. A lot of girls I knew were into that book, but a lot of non-girls or girls my age weren't really aware of it. So I think it's very much a millennial girl thing.
I mean, the comparison I'm making in my head is Animorphs, but I don't know that that's completely correct because that was like a whole series and like...
It was a book series too.
And there's still some people who... Right, that's what I meant. Oh yeah, I forgot it was a TV show.
I didn't. That pilot traumatized me.
Yeah, no, I didn't... I don't know. I know the people who were into Animorphs, that's like now a character trait and have continued to be... like a little bit of them is still super into Animorphs.
Yes, that is okay.
As I understand it, like Ella Enchanted, it has a creator that's dope.
Yes, I think so. She's very passionate about education. I was actually, because I've read her other works, because she's written quite a few books, and The Two Princesses of Bamar is another one that I really love, and I appreciate it more as an adult now.
Great.
But like, she still teaches writing, and she's still just very aware of her fan base, I guess, you know? So she sounds pretty awesome. Gail Carson Levine.
Got it. So obviously you read the book long before the movie ever came out.
Yes.
Because this movie is 2001?
2004. And
2004.
Look, I will tell you this. I had that Nickelodeon Kids magazine that was like showing images of the Ella Enchanted movie. Because this was my book. I feel like I was one of those people who felt like really territorial over things that I strongly loved.
Great.
Right? I was territorial over Sailor Moon. I was territorial over Ella Enchanted. And so when I heard that they were making this movie, I think that's when I first developed anxiety. Because I was like, oh my God, I don't think I'll be okay if they don't make this movie well.
Did they?
I will say I appreciate it now as a separate entity.
Okay.
It was not an accurate adaptation to the book.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. So I think they were having fun with it. I think they were trying something new and different. And I mean, I definitely had a crush on the guy who played Charmant. I think he was Hugh Dancy, I believe. There's like Hugh Laurie, Hugh Dancy, Hugh Grant, Hugh...
He is Hugh Dancy.
Hugh Dancy, there we go.
Yeah,
see?
very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a crush.
So we were watching this movie, and when Carrie Elwes showed up, I was like, oh my god, Carrie Elwes! We were halfway through the movie before Camaro was like, wait, Carrie Elwes? Yeah, oh my god! And just like the concept of him with like not blonde hair was very funny.
This was my first Carrie Elwes. No, second. Robin Hood Men in Tights was my first.
Hell yeah.
So I was not very familiar with his work. He always seemed like the oddball guy to me. I didn't realize he was like Princess Bride heartthrob.
Yeah.
Until like teens.
I mean, like Princess Bride and Robin Hood Men in Tights, he's like, oh, he's doing the heartthrob thing.
Yeah, but Men in Tights was weird.
It is
I
weird.
Was very
but
uncomfortable.
he's playing that character. Like, that's the character he is.
Yes.
It's just in a comedy where it's completely silly and makes no sense.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And then he gets to be a bunch of weirdos now. And it's great. I love Carrie Elwes.
Yeah.
And, like, he hams it the heck up for this movie.
He does. I think he was really enjoying himself.
Oh, clearly.
So I was like, you know what? I appreciate that. I'm like, this guy's having fun.
A moment when he like swaps out the crown for the poison crown, where he's literally
the evil gremlin
doing
walk.
the evil gremlin creeper walk, and you're just like, you're having so much fun.
He is. I think he enjoyed being on the side of power after having been the impoverished peasant the first time around.
Yeah.
So
well,
he was like, finally.
I mean, he's also the Dread Pirate Roberts, so hard to say.
Yes, that's fair. That's fair.
Oh, man. But yeah, okay, so then I feel like now we have to go through the book and the movie just because they're so different. So why don't you briefly give us a synopsis of the book? Because I have not read it.
Okay.
I'm aware that it exists, but yeah, my first time watching the movie was for this.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. So Ella Enchanted is about a girl from Frel, fictional fantasy land type place, ogres and elves, which that was in the movie as well. But it's essentially about a girl who was given the gift of obedience as a baby. Because this fairy was like, oh, I love giving gifts, and having the gift of obedience will make her so much more charming. The other gift that she liked to give was turning babies into squirrels, because she thought squirrels lived charming lives. So she thought she was doing some good in the world, but she was just completely oblivious.
So just the concept of a fairy godmother, but a fairy godmother that's terrible.
Well, so actually, no, Mandy is the fairy godmother. So Mandy was played by Minnie Driver in the movie.
Sure.
But in the book, Mandy's the one who's like keeping Ella and her family safe, and she's making sure Ella grows up, like, you know, she's watching over her. She's being like a proper fairy godmother, but she uses the magic minimally. She is a more practical fairy. So she's just like, I am the keeper of you in your house, essentially. But yeah, so anyway, so Ella...
So then who is this other fairy? Why did they get this other fairy?
So Lucinda is... kind of just takes it upon herself to heighten moments, milestone moments in people's lives, I guess I would say. She just kind of goes around giving gifts, thinking she's doing good in the world. In the book, she also attends marriages and gives them gifts.
So does she turn these two married people into squirrels?
No. So in the book, actually, Ella's father remarries Dame Olga, and we see that wedding happen. Lucinda, Ella's father only remarries Dame Olga for her money, because he's a merchant and he's not doing well financially.
Okay.
So he's like, I have to marry this woman after my wife has died. And then Lucinda appears at their wedding, and she's just like, I'm going to give you a fantastic gift, and no one would dare say it's foolish. I shall give you the gift of eternal love. And so she's like, so long as you are living, you will forever be in love with one another. And so...
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Presumably if they're getting married, they have that already, but continue.
I mean, yeah. But so she goes around giving that types of gift. Like, that was just her character. Like, that's who she was.
Okay.
I would, almost like kind of the fairies in Sleeping Beauty a little bit.
Yeah.
Where they would go around.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I detract. Let me go back to the synopsis. So Ella Frel is a girl who was given the gift of obedience, and she actually would constantly fight against that gift. As a child, as a preteen, as a teenager, every time someone gave her an order, she would resist, and she would get, knots in her stomach. She would get lightheaded. She would get all of these physical symptoms until she physically couldn't take it anymore and would just give in, which the movie doesn't make it look like that. The movie makes it seem like she has no choice, to the point of it being like she freezes up in the air in time. But anyway, so she is constantly going through all these adventures trying to get rid of this gift, or just trying to live her life living with this gift that she hates. And it now becomes a big problem when she falls in love with the prince, and she wants to marry the prince because she's now living with her stepmother and sisters, who order her around and have lowered her station while her father is away working as a merchant.
Because they figured out that she has to do...
No.
No.
They didn't, actually.
Okay.
No. She was able to keep it... No. Sorry. That's a lie. They did figure it out in the book. The sister did figure it out. Hattie did figure it out, yes. But she doesn't make Ella steal things, like in the movie.
Sure.
She just gets Ella to be her scullery maid, essentially.
Right. Which, when you're watching a Cinderella story, but not a Cinderella story, you kind of get that that's... You, like, oh, okay, ordered around, like, you could kind of see the pieces of, like, okay, the stepsister can command her, order around, that's how she ends up becoming the servant. Like, you can, the threads are there.
In the book, though, she becomes a servant because the stepmother, finds out that her husband lied to her about his financial status, and the husband doesn't want to be at home. So he's just like, look, I gotta go earn this money back, and also I don't really, like, I'm forced to love this woman because of the spell, but I don't really love her, and I think it's just better for me to be away. So he's out on the town.
I have questions about that, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. Continue.
No, yeah. So basically, the stepmother is just like, your father didn't bring any money into this. You're not going to get to live like a proper lady in this house. You better work to earn your keep. So that's how she kind of lowers her station in the house.
Okay.
So there's like a logic to it. It's not about like they're jealous of Ella's looks or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's very practical, essentially. So,
sure.
And so she's kind of like forced to live as a servant. And now though, like her and the prince were in contact with each other. Like they would occasionally bump into each other. They would write letters to each other and they fall in love that way. He proposes to her. And at first she's like super excited because she's like, oh my God, if I'm queen, no one can boss me around. But then she realizes, no, everyone will be watching my every move. Any enemy of this kingdom could use me to hurt the prince or to give away state secrets. I can't marry the prince. But at the same time, she is in love with him. So when she finds out that he's holding a ball, she's like, I just want to see him. I don't even want to be there to like talk to him. I just want to see him. So she dresses up in a mask.
Of course.
Yes. So she dresses up in a mask and it's 3 nights of 3 balls. And she goes to see him. She can't help herself and ends up talking to him. And one of the things that I loved about their romance was that she was always able to make him laugh. So there's not really very many comments about how beautiful she is and breathtaking, whatever. She's hilarious.
Great.
She's very good at improvisation.
Yeah.
She's smart. Like, so there's all these things. And eventually, of course, he finds out it's her. And then she ends up breaking the spell. Similarly in the movie, I guess, where it's like it's her own will. It's like she withstands all of the physical ailments. And to the point where all of a sudden she no longer feels it anymore. Like she now is like not fighting internally. So this book, again, took me years to realize because I was just enjoying it. But this book is actually about like people pleasing and the social conditioning of women and how, you know, we have all these expectations of having to listen to others and putting their needs before ours. So it was, and then us kind of rising above it, you know? So it was a very like relatable, beautiful story. And that's kind of the thing that I think upsets me a little bit is that the movie doesn't fully capture that. And it centralizes her romance with him more than it does her trying to break this spell, which was, you know, the pressure.
The driving force of the movie.
Exactly. So, sorry, that was a very long synopsis.
No, you synopsized a book. I wasn't expecting it to be short.
Okay. All right. But yeah.
Basically what happens in the movie is similar, like Lucinda shows up. They talk about her mom, who's still alive at the beginning and then dies later. Yes, dope.
Same thing in the book.
They're like, yeah, we called and asked the fairies for a blessing. We basically said we'd take any fairy as long as it's not, boom, Lucinda's hair. Oh, no. They try to hide the baby. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And Lucinda's like, I can either turn her into a squirrel or I can give her a gift. And they're like, just give her a gift. Give the gift of obedience. Mm-hmm. Mom dies, bunch of stuff. But mom dies saying, you can never tell anyone about your gift. And so basically, it's not even your dad. And it's like, shit.
Yeah.
So she goes through the rest of her life and then all of a sudden becomes a teenage Anne Hathaway.
Yes.
And so dad marries, stepsisters, the whole thing. And basically they figure out like, okay, I gotta go get the spell broken. I have to track down Lucinda. I don't remember why. I don't remember what's going on. In the meantime, she also meets the prince for the first time because in the movie, she didn't meet him. We get to see their introduction and we get to see like, we hate each other at first, but we're going to grow to love each other over time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as these movies do.
Mm-hmm.
Which, based on your expression, not a thing you like, but that's fine.
I love enemies to lovers, but what I don't like was, especially now with today's lens, it was very much pick me girl.
Yes.
And not that Ella herself was being a pick-me, but it was the movie, the narrative around her was setting her up to be that way, where like, you're not like other girls. And
he literally says the line, you're not like other girls.
And I was like, oh my God, that's, ugh.
Yeah.
But then it's like, yeah, where it's like every other girl is either her one-dimensional friend, Arietta, or...
Arietta's a terrible friend in the movie.
We'll talk about that. Hold on.
We will.
And then everybody else is like obsessed with him. So it's like, yeah, she's the one who's like got a brain, and that makes her different, and that makes her special, and that makes her valuable and worthy of him. And it's just like that was, man, I didn't even notice it when I was a kid, obviously, but like now watching it, it's like, yeah, y'all made her a pick me.
Yeah, it was it was a thing.
Yeah.
Yes, we will come back to the friend who I'm now realizing I neglected to cast. So that's not a great sign.
It's okay.
We'll continue. So she goes on this quest. She befriends an elf. Mm-hmm. She befriends some giants. Mm-hmm. She some ogres try to eat her. The prince catches up, saves her, and then continues on the quest. And she's basically like, your uncle's been running things and people are not in great shape. You need to talk to them. You're going to be king someday. Go be a good king. Because the uncle's not in the book, but he is in the movie. Carrie-Elle was just hamming it up, which is so fun. Because, like, I'm guessing the book doesn't have a true villain, and the movie does.
There is no villain.
Yeah.
That's the thing, too, where it was her internal struggle was the obstacle. And, of course, like, her older sister being mean to her, and her stepmother, like, trying to make her a maid as well.
I would consider those obstacles as opposed to a true villain, as in the movie, where the uncle's like, so because we have learned that you have to do everything you say, I'm going to order you to kill the prince.
Exactly. Yeah, there was none of that.
So, adventure, meet fantasy creatures, all that fun stuff. Shenanigans ensue. She's in the land of the giants. The giants ask the elf to sing a song. He's like, I'm a lawyer. I don't sing a song.
Yeah.
And they're like, how about you? Can you sing? And she's like, please don't, please don't, please don't. And they order her to sing, and then it's Anne Hathaway singing, I don't remember what the song is.
Somebody to Love.
Somebody to Love, and doing a dance routine. And it is, by modern standards, a little cringe. But you gotta admire Anne Hathaway for committing to the bit.
And she's a good singer.
She is a good singer. She is an Academy Award-winning singer.
That's true.
For her 3 minutes or whatever in Les Miserables. But yeah, no, she's a great singer. And yeah, so it's just super fun. You go through the end of the movie, and like finally, like she's ordered to kill the prince, and so she flees the city, has the elf chain her to a tree, and randomly Lucinda shows up, and she's like, Lucinda, I've been literally searching for you everywhere. I am begging you, please remove my gift. I'm being asked to hurt people. And Lucinda's like, I'm not going to remove your gift. You remove your gift yourself if you don't like it so much. In fact, I'm going to do you a solid. I'm going to remove your chains, give you a dress, and send you back into the ball. And she's like, no! It's literally the opposite of what I wanted. So she ends up in the mirror garden with the prince, and she's literally holding the knife and resisting it as much as possible. And then she realizes that she can look at herself in the mirror, and order herself to no longer be bound to follow people's orders, and that's what breaks the spell.
Yeah.
Which, quite frankly, I loved. Mm-hmm. Like, as a concept, like, I understand the idea of, like, just getting a real good callus and being able to resist now. But I also like the idea of, like, oh, just believe in yourself and listen to yourself. Order yourself around and just, like, speak into the mirror and just, like... Because I was expecting, like, oh, a love's true kiss and, like, love is going to be what prevents her from, like...
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Because, like... The movie was doing kind of that whole setup the whole time, and we finally get to the end, and it's this big climactic thing of she's holding a knife to the prince's back.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm going to have to do this, and then locks eyes with herself in the mirror, and it comes to her. And I was like, oh my god. Narratively, loved it. And then some more of the movie happens. She gets arrested. They break out. They do a whole big showdown. And the prince is like, I'm still in love with you. And she's like, I got a story for you now that I'm allowed to tell you about it.
Yeah.
And just all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun watching this movie.
Oh, good.
I understand it's not as good as the books. Or the book, excuse me.
Yeah.
But for what it was, I thought it was very cute. Like, the movie kind of skates around the fact that it's like, oh, there's a lot of terrible dudes in the world, and if a poor woman had to do everything that a dude told her to do, it would be bad.
Yes.
So it's like, that's kind of like, this is a movie that has existed in my head as like, because like I'd heard the premise 20 years ago when the movie came out. And it's just
literally
been like
20 years ago, yeah.
Yep, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yep. And so it's just been like sitting in my head since then, being like, but how? Oh no. But I thought the movie was very cute. It was very nice. It is the sort of thing that like if I had a daughter, I would show her this movie. I liked it. I thought it was very nice.
Yeah. I would show it to her when she's older because I mean, it's rough because, like, well, because there's multiple things, right? Like, if I had a daughter, she would most likely be black. Oh, yeah, that too. She would read the book.
Yeah.
But also, it's like the one woman of color. Well, no, there's two, I guess. But it's just like you have the one-dimensional friend who the friend is much more impactful, and
this movie is not kind to people of color.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine she's an actual friend and not a one-dimensional character in the book.
Yeah, so Ella was sent away to boarding school in the book, and she kind of escapes that boarding school, but in that boarding school where everyone was kind of treating her like crap, she made this one friend who was also being treated like crap because of her ethnicity. Right. And so those two kind of bonded and, you know, cared for each other. And, like, they did become friends. I mean, she obviously didn't have much of a storyline, but in this one, in the movie, it felt like Arietta's character was like her sidekick, and then a plot, like a way to show Ella as being a good person because she's being nice to this girl who's of a different ethnicity. Yeah. And then she's like having to say this like awful racist thing to her, but she doesn't want to.
She's a prop, not a character.
Exactly. So she's a prop. And that's the thing that like is annoying because she's the only, again, not the only, but you know. Yeah. The young one too, because like you got Vivica A. Fox playing the fairy, which I did appreciate that the fairy, like that wasn't a stereotypical black role, but again,
but she's also not being a very good fairy.
Yeah, exactly.
And like when they're like, "Oh man, no one likes this fairy. She's just drunk and exactly living in government housing." Yeah, so I'm just like, it treats her very badly.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I would maybe let my daughter watch it when she was like well into her teens,
and so she
I would love for my daughter to read the book.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, that's fair.
Because again, it's like even that's the thing. I watched part of it with a girlfriend of mine who she's white and like also works in entertainment, and she was just like, wow. There really, like, aren't any other people, not even in the background. And I'm like, yeah. Like, I'm glad they didn't make any of the giants black for obvious reasons, because they were the slaves of the movie. But, like, they couldn't make the elves black either, because they were the entertainers of the movie. So it was just like, yeah, they really, not even black, but, like, there were no Asians. There were none non-white passing Latinos. There might have been white passing Latinos. I don't know. But, like, so again, it's just like, And also the whole pick-me thing. I would never want my daughter to look at other girls who are... Look, if you're a girl and you're crushing on a really hot guy, girl, that's part of your journey. I'm not going to have my daughter looking down on you because you're crushing on a hot guy.
This movie does poorly what Turning Red does very well.
Yes. Dude, Turning Red made me so uncomfortable because it was so accurate. I was like, this is like some girl who gave away the secrets.
The writer.
Yeah, I know, right? The writer. The animator knew what they were doing. Yeah. I was just like, oh my God.
It was a very well written, very well directed movie. Yes. That movie deserves all the credit that it gets. Like, that movie's great.
Yes. And I would love, and I mean, we could get into that later, but like, the way that story was told, I would love for Ella Enchanted to be told in a similar way, where so many of the struggles were internal and they made it external. Like they found a fun way to make it external, but you could see how much of it was still, you don't see too much of the internal struggle, I think. Yeah. Which is tough with the Ella Enchanted.
Yeah, that's the benefit that books will always have over movies, is that you can hear the internal monologue. And anytime you have a movie where you're hearing the internal monologue, everyone's like, I don't like this. That's why that's one of the many reasons why the original Dune movie does not work. Anyway, but like, so part of the reason that I found, like, all three of us watching the movie found the friend whose name I don't remember, Arietta. Arietta?
I just say Arietta, but I don't know if I'm saying it right. I could be absolutely butchering it.
Yeah, part of the reason why we found her character, like, we were calling her the bad friend, is that, like...
Yeah, what did she do?
She the only actions she did, other than be a victim, which has nothing to do with this, is that, like, there's a moment where she and Ella are walking, and Ella sees the two sisters, and Ella's like, oh my God, hide, I can't let them see me. And so she ducks behind something, and the friend goes, no, pulls Ella up, turns her around, and it's like, oh, great, here are the stepsisters. So anytime Ella's in distress, the friend just kind of doesn't realize. And, like, during the debate between Ella and Hattie, when Hattie's realizing that Ella, like, when Hattie's learning that Ella has to do everything she's told, the friend is watching very closely and doesn't get it at all. Yeah. And then the scene where Ella has been forced to break up with her friend and then say something racist, which is terrible. Like, she's clearly losing her shit and sobbing over it. And sucks. And the friend, like, doesn't have any main character energy in that. She's like, oh.
Yeah, she has no agency.
She has no agency.
Yeah, she wasn't written.
No.
Yeah.
But, like, if she were treated not as a prop, but as a person, she'd be like, that clearly wasn't real. She's sobbing as she's telling me this thing. Like, she clearly doesn't mean it. I'm gonna pursue this and find out what's going on.
That would have been interesting to see.
Yeah, like, all of a sudden you have this twist and, like, you make Arietta the main character of, like, your poor friend is under this spell to, like, be controlled and do all these other different things and being forced to do all this stuff against her will.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity to be a real hero. We could certainly turn this around and make her the main character. Not the titular character, however.
In the book, she was also told to be by her older sister to be like, tell her you can't be friends with her because she's an Aorthian. And the way Ella gets around that is by running away.
Yeah.
And she also steals Hattie's wig, which was great.
That is.
But like, that's literally what she did. So she had agency to an extent in the book that she doesn't have in the movie.
Right. Ella does. But we're talking about...
But in the friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was none of that in the book.
It's not the character's fault that she's written with nothing to do.
Yeah.
Because she's literally written with nothing to do. She's just... Her whole role is to stand there and look aghast.
Which, that really upset me because I was just like, isn't this girl kind of a star? Because she was just in Bend It Like Beckham and that was a massive movie and she was the leading character. And y'all give her this... And I was just like, you know what? I just gotta remember what it was like back then. Actually, even back then I was confused because I was frustrated.
It's a far-off land of 20 years ago.
Yeah, truly. And honestly, like, some days it feels like things don't change, but then other days I'm like, yeah, things have changed a lot.
Yeah.
Because, my God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. So, for our version,
yes,
how do we want to remake Ella Enchanted?
I've been waiting 20 years for this conversation.
All right, I'm just going to set this pen down. I'm going to lean back in the chair. Tell me a story.
Do you know the movie Ever After?
I've heard of it.
Okay, it's a Drew Barrymore. It's also a version of Cinderella. But what I would like to do is like a realistic kind of, like tonally like that, where it almost feels like you're watching a real life type story in a real world.
Sure.
Ever After was set in France. But of course, in this one, we can keep that fantastical element. I don't think it needs to be as fantastical as it was in the movie. I would like it to be a lot more subtle. And I would love it to be colorblind casting. And not like Bridgerton colorblind casting, but like Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella with Brandy and like black mom, white dad, Asian baby. Like, you know, like don't even question it because it doesn't matter. It's a fantastical world.
Some might say it's impossible, but impossible things happen every day.
Daft and Daft and dewy-eyed dopes make it happen. So I'm gonna live that up. So, but yeah, no. So I would love it like that, where it's tonally, and I want it to be an adventure, light comedy, light drama, but more so like something Spielberg would make almost, in the sense where it's like adventurous, you know? Like,
sure.
Let me think of.
I mean,
actually, kind of like Hook.
Yeah.
Not in terms of sets, but in terms of like that feel.
The movie that I kept thinking of as we were watching this, because this was also very much a jukebox musical, was
not a musical. I don't ever want to be a musical again.
Yeah, I kept thinking of A Knight's Tale.
Oh, yes.
The Heath Ledger one, where it's like, yeah, we're in this fantasy setting. We're not fantasy setting. We're in a medieval setting.
Yes.
But we're talking in a modern dialect. And
I wouldn't want it to be too modern, though. For me, it would take me out of it.
Okay.
I would like it to be a little bit more of that era.
Okay.
Yeah, but you like the modern.
I like the idea. I like the idea of we understand the world that we're in based on what we're seeing in front of us. Mm-hmm. But there's no extra level of having to like parse dialogue of just like, yeah, okay, they're just talking like how people this age would talk.
Yeah.
And like you can even have all the different characters speak in ye old high fairy or whatever.
Yeah.
But like our lead characters are like, yeah, no, we're 16, so we're going to talk in modern speak. I don't think that you should try to replicate like what actual modern 16-year-olds sound like.
Yeah, I don't want to hear Ella being like bet or that's busting.
That's gonna be
I don't want to hear that.
Real cringe, real fast, because it better come out immediately and then never be watched again.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm like, if you make it of that era, for me, then it becomes more timeless.
Yeah.
You know? So for me, like with Brandy Cinderella, Drew Barrymore Cinderella, which is Ever After, like those work and they're still good. They still hold up because they're not trying to be of today's modern age.
Great.
So I love that.
So we have a lot of different set pieces in the movie as it exists, but there are also a lot of set pieces from the book that potentially didn't make it into the movie.
Yes.
Are there any particular set pieces that you think need to be there? Like, you've already mentioned the nature of the gift. Is Ella resisting it every single time, basically resisting it to the point of pain until she can't resist it anymore, and then has to actually do it in order to make the pain stop, which is going to get real old real fast. But there are different ways to show it. I liked in the movie her finding creative ways to complete the tasks. Of, like, she has this order, and sometimes when it's like, hold your tongue, and she literally just holds her tongue because the magic just makes her do the thing. But I like her having this moment of, like, trying to come up with a creative way to do each of the different orders.
Kind of like Amelia Bedelia, where if you tell her to, like, draw the curtains, and she'll get a pencil and paper and start drawing.
A little bit. Honestly, legitimately, yeah. Where, like, there's a moment when the prince is like, get back here. And she, like, turns and she goes back, but she stomps the whole way. It's like, I'm doing this in protest. Yeah. As opposed to just immediately turning around and returning.
Yeah, I could definitely see adding that. I don't think there was that in the book, because instead it would be like, oh, she's getting dizzy, she's getting nauseous, like, the room is spinning. Finally, she's like, as soon as she starts taking steps towards doing whatever she's told to do, it stops. Yeah. I can see how that would get old. I would probably want to see a mixture. Sure. You know, because, like, I think the important thing that we get is that she is fighting. I think her rebellion towards the obedience is, like, the big thing for me. And I do want to see that it is causing her some, like, harm. Not that I want to see her get hurt, but it's like, it does, because in real life, like, it is very uncomfortable, if you're a people pleaser especially. It's very uncomfortable. Like, you feel sick trying to tell people no, or actually speaking what you want to say, you know? And so I think if it's too much of her taking things so literally as a in your face, I feel like maybe the audience might not get it, you know? So I would love to see a mix of both.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that, like, there was a little bit of so there's a fight scene when she first encounters the elf Slannon. He's tied up and, like, they're throwing knives at him, and, like, she rescues him. And Slannon's like, yeah, kick him in the dick. And so she kicks the dude in the dick or whatever it was. And then he, like, tells her all these different fight moves to do, and she does all these different things, and he, like, doesn't pick up on anything that's going on. But I also thought that was, like that could be a really fun thing of, like, she knows that she has this, like, gift curse, whatever it is, but she knows she has it. Like, if she, like, is in a situation where she's like, oh crap, we need to fight our way out of here, I don't know how to fight, but if you tell me to do something, I have to do it.
That's not how the spell worked in the book.
It's not.
Yeah.
But
you like that element?
Yeah, well, it's like, hey, uppercut that guy, do a kickflip. She's been ordered to do a kickflip. What happens in the book if she's ordered to do something that she doesn't know how to do or can't do?
I don't think that ever happened.
So why not? Why can't we make it happen?
Well, but in the book, one thing, again, because I think maybe the book was just really relatable. And for me, it was like she used her cleverness to get out of things. Yeah. Which I think it's cool that she was able to do that. But there's something, I think, to be said for seeing a character do something that you would do in a situation, or something that you believe you can do, versus like, oh, that could never happen to me, like, you know, which is cool to watch. Maybe I'm trying to be too realistic then, because sometimes being cool matters more.
But I also kind of think that is sort of what I'm leaning towards. I like the idea of her finding creative solutions. Yeah. And I feel like a creative solution is
tell me what to do.
Tell me what to do. And, like, it's not going to work all the time, but tell me what to do. Like, how would you fight them? Tell me exactly how you would fight these, but have me do it. And it's like, okay, cool. First I would punch this guy, then I would do this, then I would do that. Great. Yeah, okay, that was a really good idea. It could even be, like, someone's, tied up and, like, is going to be thrown to the ogres or something. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what would you have me do? Oh, I would have you do this, and then you should do this, and then you should do that. And then she's doing all these different things and kicking all this butt. And it's like, cool. That would be a really good idea if you told me to do those. Well, anyway, let's get you out of there.
I think, I don't think there was any... No, in the book, there was one time she was in danger, and that was, again, with the ogres. And that was the only time Char saved her life. And that was because the ogres, I think... She delayed her being eaten by the ogres using her, like, improvisational skills.
Sure.
So she had, like... She was really good at mimicking. She was entertaining to
There's so many things that Zip Zap Zop can't do.
Yep. I right there with you.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, continue.
She's great. Like, when I said improvisation, but also mimicking. So each of these different groups had their own languages and their own, like, sounds and whatever. She could mimic them to the point of being able to impress them.
Okay.
And so the ogres in the book had the power of persuasion, essentially. So one of them was, like, lulling her into a false sense of security and then ordered her, like, not to run away. Like, she was going to get eaten in the morning now, even though he'd be sad about it. And that was the time where I forgot what she did, but it was a moment of her almost breaking the spell in that moment because she was using her mimicking skills to try to... No, it wasn't mimicking skills. She was working through, like, why she couldn't order herself to just escape. Right. Because this was the first time her life was truly in danger. Yeah. But yeah, like, I think that would be cool. I just don't... I mean, if we did a true adaptation, I don't know where that would fit. But maybe we could make it fit into the ogres thing again.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, theoretically, fundamentally, a movie is always going to be different than a book in that a movie is going to be a concise, complete story. Yeah. Told in an hour and a half to 2 hours, ideally. Yeah. But, like, so let's make it even simpler of what is the core concept of what Ella needs to accomplish in this movie? What does she need to do? What is her goal for this movie?
Her goal is to realize that she is more powerful than this spell that was cast upon her.
That's her character arc. What's her goal?
Oh, you mean in terms of, like,
what is at the beginning of the movie or at the end of Act 1, what does she learn that she needs to do? What is her inciting incident? What does she learn that, like, because theoretically going and breaking the spell isn't bad. Yeah. Going and warning the prince isn't bad.
In the book, she was kind of just surviving. There was no, like,
yeah,
she
and that works in a book, but it doesn't work for a movie.
I gotcha. Okay, I think, because there's a point where in the book, she was able to just summon Lucinda. In the book, she only really starts to want something when the balls are happening. Because she is, like, her crush is developing, and, like, now she's, like, full on in love with Char. I guess in the movie, then, it would be... Wow, I hadn't even thought about, like... I would say I would keep it to her breaking the spell.
That does seem to be the most obvious and probably the most correct one. Yeah. Because fundamentally, hey, it's this thing that I am bound by. I would no longer like to be bound by this thing. Yeah. And then, of course, the character arc is learning that she had the power all along, clicks her heels 3 times, figures out if she orders herself or whatever, it's not real, like, whatever. Mm-hmm. I did really like the idea of her ordering herself to not be bound anymore. I thought that was really good. The path we take along the way, maybe not necessarily, but I did really like, oh, I have to follow every order? What about my orders? Yeah. Because, like, every single time she got an order from the stepmother, Mandy, the house fairy, was standing right there and who could very easily have said, you don't have to do that. Great. Now I know. Like, literally, she's standing right there when it's like, go tell your friend you can never be friends with her anymore. And Mandy just stands there. Mandy, who knows that she's bound by this, just lets her go.
Plot holes, yeah. No, there were a lot of plot holes in the movie.
Mandy could absolutely have been like, you do not have to do that. Whatever. And it just never happened. Yeah. And the fact that, like, I feel like that could be the overarching thing of Ella does all the things because she's told to, but realizes that everyone else, a lot of other people, do the things they're told to, even though they don't want to, too. Mm-hmm. Mandy, the dad, her friend, all these other people are also following orders, and they don't even have a spell attached to them. Everything that's inside of her is, like, realizing, I don't want to follow these spells, and I want to help the people around me also not have to do everything they're told that they don't want to do. I want to give everybody agency. I want to give my friend agency. I want to give the house fairy agency.
I don't know if I agree with that message.
That's fair. Great.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm
getting her
spitballing.
self-agency. No, yeah, because I totally am down with the getting her self-agency.
Dope.
I don't think you can want better for others than they can want for themselves.
Great. That's a good message, too.
Yeah. So I completely, I'm there with you. Now that I'm thinking about it, the inciting incident is probably her mother dying in the book. Because her mother dies when she's like a child and she's angry at Mandy because her and her mother had the same illness. Mandy was able to cure Ella, but the mother, she used unicorn hair in the food, in the soup, to make Ella feel better. The mother took out the unicorn hair because she was like, that looks gross. And so that's why Ella got better and the mother didn't.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that's what happened.
And Mandy couldn't tell her to not do that?
She didn't see her.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The book had barely, I don't think the book had any plot holes. Like, the homegirl thought of everything. So I would definitely think it's like, yeah, getting agency for herself. And now that I think about it, okay, so it's been a long time since I read the book. She meets Char at her mother's funeral for the first time. And that's when they...
Why is Char there?
Because her mother was a woman of, not like a high-level status nobility,
Sure.
but she is someone of importance.
Got it. Which, if I remember, in the movie, that's why Olga marries the dad, is because she wants the title.
Yes, yeah. So that was why
He wants the
Char-
money, she wants the title.
Yeah. Definitely her search to end the spell, along with also trying to... Yeah, so I guess her main obstacles then would be like her stepmother, her stepsisters, her new station in life. I think the stepmother tried to sent her off to boarding school, and it's just like escaping boarding school after she's ordered to do this awful thing. And then she goes on this journey to get home, and that's when she runs into the ogres and the elves, and then Prince Charmant and his knights find her, and they, I think they get her
So do you
home.
want this? Sure. But
So overarching, yes.
do you want this to be a journey? Well, so break the spell.
Yes. that is
Main
the
crux, that's the MacGuffin whatever of the movie.
And she's doing that by trying to find Lucinda.
Sure.
Yeah.
But is she journeying from the boarding school where she was sent to the capital, or journeying from the boarding school where she was sent back to Krell, or from Frel, excuse me. Or from Frel to someplace
Lucinda.
else? So where, because you keep
say,
saying
yeah.
that, you keep saying that the stepmom sent her to boarding school.
Yeah.
Do we need to have that in this movie? Do you want that to be where she is?
I think so.
Because
Yes.
that's a whole other set for some reason.
Wait, how many... Because I assumed that we'd get multiple sets. What do you mean?
We are going to get multiple
Okay,
sets, but
yeah.
like presumably the movie starts in Frel,
Yes.
and then we go to the boarding school.
Yes.
To leave the boarding school?
Yes. Leaving
Okay.
the boarding school, and she's trying to end the spell. She's looking for Lucinda. She gets caught by the ogres. Char, she can't tell Char what's going on, so he's taking her back home.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I would envision it as.
So you're seeing this as
She's trying to.
the beginning of the movie's in Frel,
Mm-hmm.
and then pretty quickly in the boarding school. Stuff happens in the boarding school, and she escapes the boarding school, and starts by going
To look for Lucinda.
look for Lucinda,
Gets
and
lost
gets
in the forest, yeah.
Char and everybody in the forest. So basically Lucinda, the capital, all of that's kind of happening all at the same time. That's Act 2.
Mm-hmm.
But then Act 3 is happening back in Frel.
Yeah, because Act 3 is when... I would say at this point, the princess asked her to marry him. She wants to, but she ends up telling him a lie. In the book, that's what she does. She lies to him and is just like, I can't marry you because
That
I've
happens in the
actually
movie,
gotten
too.
another suitor. Yeah, she's like, I've fallen for somebody else, and one day maybe we'll meet, and I will be a rich lady, and I wish you well and all that stuff. And so then, of course, the news about the balls comes out, and then Act 3 would be her attending those 3 balls, and so Lucinda, by the way,
not in Frel.
no, that would be in Frel.
So you want Char to have his big fancy balls in...
Char is from Frel. He lives in Frel.
So, okay.
He has his palace and everything there.
Got it.
Yeah.
So so I thought Frel was like a little podunk town.
In the movie, that's what it made it look like.
Yeah.
It's the king. From what I remember in the books, King and Char live there, but Char, as part of his princely duties, is sent out and about across the kingdom far and wide. But the palace, because I remember she's traveling from her stepmother's home to the palace. The palace was in their town. It wasn't like some little...
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Because if we want it to be a small town and where the castle is, that doesn't make any sense.
I didn't want it to be a small town.
I think like having whatever, like the finances of Frel aren't really relevant. The infrastructure of Frel, not particularly plot plot necessary, whatever. But what we can do is we could certainly have good guy Char.
Okay.
Char gets this letter from Ella saying, hey, I can't marry you. I have fallen in love with this other guy and I've decided to marry him. And Char is like, well, you're still my friend. I'm happy for you. I'm going to throw these balls for you. You're in love with this other guy. You're going to get married. I still care about you. Let's do these here in your town. That way you don't necessarily have to have like the castle of the
Wait, why can't the castle be in Frel?
Is there, then is there any reason for them to be a separate town at all? So the two locations we have are Frel, the capital location of this kingdom, where the castle and everything else is, and boarding school, which is someplace else. Okay, so it's just two places.
Just those two places, yeah.
Okay.
And the forest, sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't understand
the path between. Well, because I've only seen the movie. And in the movie,
got it. Yeah, sorry.
The Frel is not the capital.
It's not, yeah.
So that's where I was coming from.
Got it.
Anyway, so basically we have our two locations and the path between them. The path between them is the forest where the ogres and the elves and the giants live.
Yes, yeah, between the boarding school and Frel, yes.
Okay. Stepmom sends Ella away, and so basically it's her journey back to the place, which is both and everything and all the things.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. So Act 1, movie begins, Frel, we find out about Ella and everything else about her. Mom dies. Oh no. New stepmom sent away to boarding school. And then, boy, boarding school sucks. I don't like it here. I'm now a grown-up. I've realized that a lot of the things in my life are bad, and I'm having to live my life confined by this quote-unquote gift. I'm going to leave boarding school. Act 2. Leaves boarding school, goes into the forest, meets Slannon and...
Niece.
Anyone?
The ogre niece.
The ogre. I am.
But it's
niece.
like the whole It's the whole tribe of ogres.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the tribe of elves as well.
Okay, and giants or no giants? I didn't cast any of the giants.
Yeah, there were no giants.
Okay,
It's
that's
so
fine.
random. When Heidi Klum popped up, I was like, what?
Yeah, I did not know that was Heidi Klum. Apparently, that was Heidi Klum.
That was the female giant was Heidi Klum.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so then elves and ogres, whatever, living in the forest, just fantasy creatures along the way. They not necessarily need to be oppressed by some
No oppression.
uncle or whatever. Fine.
No. Yeah, no.
Great. So then, are they roadblocks or just more examples and obstacles, I suppose, as opposed to places to pick up companions? Because does she travel with Selena? Because I'm guessing also
she doesn't actually.
Benny the book, I'm guessing, doesn't exist in the book. Doesn't exist in the book.
I think there might have been a book that has like a map and like some important stuff that was like she used as a way to get to where she wanted to go.
Sure,
but it wasn't a talking book. It wasn't a whatever. I think she was able to actually use the book at some point to see images of Char. So like in the way that she was able to see Lucinda.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh yeah, they had that, but she
it just wasn't sentient.
Yeah.
Got
it wasn't, yeah. So what happens, and she, I think, comes more into her own. She learns, like, she gets wisdom from hanging out with the elves.
Sure.
So they're kind of like, they help her through, I forgot what problem. Like, they do sort of help her kind of start coming into her own. And then the ogres.
But what purpose do they serve the movie?
Maybe they're the idea, maybe they're the plant that, maybe they're the ones that plant the seed that, like, she is capable, or that Here's
my suggestion.
Okay.
Because this was
I hadn't
something...
even thought about this.
Yeah,
so.
That's fine. So this was something that the movie talked about and then never did again. And it sounds like the book had a little bit of this and then also never did again. But first a question. Lucinda's not the only fairy, right? So she's not
Mandy's
the only...
a fairy. There are other fairies besides Lucinda.
That's not what I'm getting to.
Okay.
In the book, Lucinda is the only fairy that goes around giving gifts to people.
Yes.
Got it. In the movie, that's not the case. They're like, oh, we have requested a gift, and we said any fairy will do as long as it's not, boom, Lucinda. Presuming that there are a bunch of people out in the world who also have gifts. Again, it sounds like this isn't in the book, but in the movie, it's just like, okay, cool. Do we meet any of these other people or find out what any of the other gifts are? And I feel like if you have the elves, which are themselves a magical group of people, or a group of people potentially more closely aligned with magic, you could have many of them with a bunch of different gifts, both living with or not living with as they so choose.
Okay.
And so I feel like that can introduce the idea of living with, not living with, being free of, doing whatever, and finding out, basically testing the bounds of her own skills, abilities, and everything, because she gets to see how other people go to the...
and maybe she realizes that, like, she maybe she does try to break it, but she's like, I'm not strong enough.
Or something like that. Or just like trying to do all the different things that the elves try to do of like, hey, people who try to live with their gift try to do. It's the Xavier School for Gifted Mutants or whatever. Like she tries to do that, but she finds out, okay, great. Your gifts are great for you, but unfortunately mine is not great for me. I still need to continue on my quest. Oh no, ogres. So like the elves are like, well, maybe. Are you sure this is what you want? And, like the courage of her conviction to like, yes, this is what I want. And then the ogres are kind of pushing her to her limits, and she needs to figure out how to use her intellect and wits and whatever to get out of the situation.
I like that.
And so that's kind of Act 2. And then you can also have the bit of she escapes from the ogres, but then Char shows up and he thinks he actually rescues her. When it's not the case, she was fine. She was actually going to be fine. But then Char rescues her.
Wait, how was she going to be fine?
She figured it out. She used her wit. She used
to get out of the ogres.
To get out of the ogres. But at like the last second, while she's like getting the last bit of rope off of her or whatever, Char comes in and sweeps through and rescues her.
Okay.
Which happens in the movie, but like he actually rescues her.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I would have been fine. And it's like, no, you wouldn't have.
You're a screwed girl.
You were literally about to get dunked into boiling water.
That's actually what happens in Ever After at one point, where it's like she frees herself using the skills that her dad taught her.
Yeah.
And the prince comes in like 30 minutes too late.
Really?
Yeah. But it's great.
Sure. But yeah, like stuff like that.
It's a great movie.
We'll just add it to the list for next time.
Yay. Okay.
But yeah, stuff like that. And then like we finally get back to Krell. Now, Frel.
It's okay.
I don't know why I keep doing that. Gets back to Frel with Char. And like, okay, great. Now we have to deal with Char, deal with the ball, and Ella has to free herself all within the remaining 15, 20 minutes of the movie or whatever it is. 40 minutes of the movie, fine.
Yeah. Okay. What was nice is that, so after she comes from boarding school, that's like when she starts living the scullery maid life.
Sure.
And that's because like Mandy kind of vouches for her because the Dame was like trying to get rid of her. And that's when the letters between her, because I think as he's leaving after he drops her off home, he's like, I'd like to write to you. And so that's when they start that pen pal relationship, start falling in love. He proposes through letter. And yeah, so I guess maybe that, I don't know if that's a montage necessarily, but like,
well, how does that help us? Like I understand her going
because
off.
she goes from, after meeting with the elves and realizing that like she can break, or she knows there's a way to do it, but she doesn't believe she's strong enough to do it. Then it's like, this is the beginning of the catalyst that makes her strong enough because her love for him and also her kingdom.
That's not what I'm asking about. I'm asking about the, like, having the letters back and forth. That can absolutely be something that I don't think needs to happen on screen. It can happen while she's spending her time growing up, spending 5, 6, 7, 8 years in boarding school.
No, she's only in boarding school for like a few months.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry. This is
again for the purposes of the movie.
For the movie.
Where she gets kicked out of her house for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like for the purposes of the movie of like, okay, she's in boarding school. What's the point? How does that help us tell this story?
Okay.
This short, contained, complete story.
Okay.
Like. Writing letters, doing all these different things, like theoretically if she's gonna be stuck doing the Cinderella thing of like being a maid to the sisters and the mom, why does she need to get sent to boarding school? She can just as easily escape that and try to go someplace where she can be free of having to follow their orders. Mm-hmm. Like she finally realizes that she's not currently under any orders in that exact moment. Nothing's keeping her there, so she runs. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to have boarding school if she's escaping being a scullery maid. Like it's one or the other. Otherwise it's a hat on a hat.
I guess. I guess honestly, like for me, the desire to be true to the book is like that's kind of what's driving me. But yeah, I guess.
Well, I want to be true to the book, but we can't do the entire book. So I'm trying to pick the parts that are the most important to you.
Yeah.
Like I'm asking what your favorite parts of the book are, so that we can do those parts.
Yeah, maybe. I guess man, you're right. I guess it's two different things.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Okay. I guess then we would have to get rid of the boarding school. Okay. Hold on. Okay, so now the way I'm saying it, Mother dies. Ella's kind of like developed this friendship with Char. The catalyst to her wanting to break this spell could be her father remarrying and being in this awful situation. She could choose to leave in order to find the fairy, meets up with the elves and the ogres. Char brings her back. She can't really run away again at this point
Why would Char bring her back? Why would Char not go on this journey with her to help her? Why would Char not say, "Oh, you're going on a journey? I, the chivalrous knight, want to help you along the way"?
I mean, because of the times that they were in, it's not really conceivable that a young maiden would be traveling alone to find for any reason, really.
Yeah. So why would Char allow that to happen? Why would he let her go? No, because you're saying he brings her back.
He brings her back. He brings her back to Frel. She doesn't tell him about her journey because she doesn't want him to know about her spell.
So despite the fact that she doesn't want him to, he does something that directly causes her harm or that goes against her wishes. She's like, I need to go do this thing. And he said, no, you can't be a woman alone on your own.
She lies to him she gives him a fake explanation as to why she's out there.
Sure.
And so he's like, oh, well, let's get you back home. And she doesn't really protest. Is kind of, I guess, how I'm seeing it. I don't know.
That doesn't seem in character for either of them. Because theoretically, like, if Char is the person who likes her, likes hanging out with her, ideally likes supporting her, and...
At this point, they're just, like, acquaintances.
Okay, but they've been communicating for years at this point. When does her mom die?
Her mom dies maybe when she's, like, 12 or so. They meet one time, and then they, I think, meet once more at her father's wedding. And that's when they start to really... And her father's wedding is a couple of years later. So at this point, she's a teenager.
Okay.
And so at this wedding, they're really having fun with each other. They're sliding down the stair rails and, like, kind of joking around. And she's making him laugh. And it's inappropriate because he's the prince. And so...
So then they're only communicating via letter for a couple months?
Yes.
I mean, with mail systems at the time as they were, how many letters is that even?
I mean, it was a good amount of time. Enough for them to fall in love.
Yeah, so I think for our version, if we want to stay true to the book and have them have been sending letters and sending it back and forth, I think that can start from the mom's funeral. Okay. They can be communicating from when they're 11, 12 until they're 16, older. 17, yes. 18, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that way they have this... All the more reason where she can then go to a ball and communicate with him and make him laugh, and he doesn't recognize her because he only saw her once and he's only used to reading for her. She looks the same. If it's only been a couple of months, there's no reason to think he wouldn't recognize her.
She has a mask. But yes, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
oh no, you can't tell who I am. You can't. What's the line from the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie? I can tell who, like, I can recognize you even I can't see your eyebrows.
That was the only scene I remember from that movie.
It's the best part of that movie because it's such a good line.
Yes, it absolutely is.
But yeah, so like, okay, so...
And for those at home, by the way, Sam was covering his eyes, and he used his hand to cover just like a third of his face. So that's why he was,
Yes. Okay, so for the movie, get the gift... Mom dies, real sad, meet the prince, communicate, tell all these letters. As she grows up over the course of years, dad remarries, bad sisters, bad stepsisters, stepmom, kind of turn her into a servant. She finds a way to go out into the woods to try to, like, escape. So she goes on an adventure and meets the ogres and the elves.
Yes.
And then Char rescues her and then brings her back.
Yes.
Okay. That we can deal with because she's now done her adventure and done all these different things. And she also can allow herself to be brought back because she met the elves, she met the ogres, and that wasn't enough to set her free.
Yeah.
So, we need to now come up with an Act 3 thing of what's her last-ditch scheme to try to set herself free that isn't going to work. And it can be, okay, great, we're going to have this big gala. The person we need to invite is Lucinda, my fairy godmother, whomever, the gift lady, because she always shows up at weddings. And if she shows up at weddings, I can ask her to set me free.
What if it was marrying the prince, right? When he proposes to her in letter, what if she wants to accept?
Okay.
And then Mandy's kind of the one that either sets her straight or something happens to make her realize that she can't, and then... Never mind, actually.
You also can, like, have if she's back home, you can have the stepsisters or the stepmom intercept the letter, and they see the proposal, and it's like, oh, you need to tell the prince that he should actually marry Hattie. You tell the prince that he should actually do this. And that way the prince is like, if that's what because he's so smitten with her, and he's like, I trust your judgment. I believe you. If you think that's what I should do, that's what I will do.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That he would marry someone based off of a referral.
I don't know.
Sorry. I'm just thinking about the way I'd refer jobs or people to jobs and be like, nah, marriage too, that works.
I mean, look,
That'd
ye
be funny.
oldie times was ye crazy times.
Yeah.
and that can be the wedding, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And, like, she has to do it because she's ordered to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so, like, the night of 3 balls, whatever, and all this other stuff's happening. They're trying to get Lucinda there. Lucinda never shows up until finally at the very end, she's like, no, I have the power. I can do this on my own. She breaks her own curse and then stops the wedding and says, no, it should be me. And Hattie says, say it shouldn't. I don't need to listen to you anymore. Boom, big end of movie, kiss, mwah, 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 end of movie.
Okay.
That
works for me. Yeah, that works for me.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to go over for the plot of the movie itself prior to getting into casting?
It might be helpful, I mean, just for the sake of knowing, Lucinda's character in the book, Mandy calls her. And because at this point, Lucinda's still giving gifts to people in the kingdom. And Mandy challenges her to live as a squirrel for like 3 days. Because she's just like, you think your gifts are so charming. Experience it. So she's like, experience being a squirrel and experience being obedient. And so she does. And then she comes back to Mandy and she's learned that, oh my God, these are awful gifts. And Ella's just like, okay, great, take mine away then. And Mandy and Lucinda's like, I won't do it because I realized that by giving these gifts, this was big magic I was using. I'm no longer using big magic. You can break it yourself. So I don't know if we want to give Lucinda that little, B storyline of like having to experience life with her own gifts. But if we wanted to, because I liked her character. I thought she was so silly and just...
I just like the idea of an incompetent and bad fairy godmother. I don't think she needs to learn a lesson. If anything, I thought her character was more charming that she didn't. That she's just like, no, this is the kind of person I'm going to be, and people love me for this. And just
she
like
did the Lulu.
Yeah. And it's great. Like, I don't think she should learn a lesson. And I think that I think that is relevant with the person I cast for her.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But yeah. That said, I think we can also go the other way of, like, we can get to the very end, we can get to some, we need to cut to a different scene to, like, do something else. And Mandy calls in Lucinda, and it's like, you think your gifts are so great? Why don't you go live as a squirrel? Okay. I fucking love this. This is great. And Lucinda loves it, and that's why they can't get Lucinda to show up anymore, because Lucinda's off living as a squirrel and having the time of her life.
Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
And, like, we go the other way if she's like, yeah, no, I've been right this whole time. This is dope. Have you ever eaten an acorn straight off the tree? Oh, perfect. So good. No notes. And like, no, wait, I needed your help. Well, no, now she's definitely not coming. Oh, no. My plan backfired. My plan of, this was going to take 3 nights. We told her to live as a squirrel for 2 nights, and on the 3rd night, she'd realize the error of her ways. But she didn't. She went the other way, and she loves it too much, and she's not coming back. Now my plan of getting Lucinda to break my curse isn't going to work anymore. Now I need to break it myself. 3rd act of the movie. Or, like, end of the 3rd act of the movie.
Okay.
That's why it's going to be over 3 days, is because they need to give Lucinda time to live as a squirrel and learn that it's terrible, but she doesn't. She thinks it's awesome. Okay.
I think we would upset a couple of purists, but I'd be willing to make that concession because I think that would be pretty funny.
We're going to upset purists anyway because we can't tell the same... Like,
yeah.
If you were... the only way the purists would be happy would be if you turn this into a mini-series, and we can't do that because that's not what this podcast does.
Yes.
Anyway, so let's talk about casting.
Yes.
Obviously, we have to start with Ella.
Yes.
Who did you have for Ella?
For Ella, my number 1 is Charithra Chandran, who, if you've seen Bridgerton Season 2, Charithra played the sister of Simone Ashley.
Okay.
And she, I think, would make a fantastic Ella.
How old is she?
I think she's in her mid-20s.
She's 27.
She looks quite young.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of her now.
Yeah. So I thought she did fantastic in that role. I think she has, like, a great vulnerability about her, like a sweetness about her, but she could also be, like, tough when called to be.
Sure.
She has, like, I feel like she could do the rebellious thing. So I think I've seen her in, like, one other thing, which was a bit of a comedy, and I was like, oh, she's kind of nailing this. So I think she's just a good actress, period.
Yeah. If we go with yours, we'll probably also have to go with your Char, because I cast a 17-year-old for both Ella and Char.
Oh, okay. Okay, who's your
So
Ella?
my Ella is an actress who I first saw in Barbie, but she's also in The Heights. She's the young version of Ahsoka in Ahsoka.
Ah.
Her name is Ariana Greenblatt.
Yes.
So,
I know who you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought she was fun. I think she plays a good teenager. I think that she's kind of a, like, obnoxious, rebellious teenager in Barbie, but I think, like, that you also can have her be, like, the self-assured person who doesn't want to do the things she's being told.
Yes.
And I thought that she was very good at that, and she is a current teenager of today.
Yeah.
Who we've seen in several things and is a very good actress.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, all the articles like, oh no, she's going to be big. So,
I'm sure she will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking in terms of Ella. For my Char, I went with someone who I've seen in Jungle Cruise. He's like the kid in Jungle Cruise, but he's also the voice in of the duck or the goose or whatever it is in Wild Robot.
Oh, I haven't seen Wild Robot yet.
Wild Robot's so good.
I know. I've been hearing it, and I've been wanting to see it, and I will see it. I just haven't gotten around to seeing it.
So it may be worthwhile to Google this guy. This kid's name is Rafael Alejandro.
Oh, this kid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
no,
we'll come back to that. We'll decide what we want the relative age of our characters to be like, because there is something to teenagers being played by teenagers, and there is something to them being played by adults, which is a separate conversation to have. But who did you have for Char?
Well, I just want to say, so the reason why I was kind of skewing older for this one is because I think Ella is actually a very tough character to play.
I don't disagree.
So that's why I'm just like, I love younger actors, but I think it's so rare and difficult to find actors who can give you that.
I don't disagree.
So
and
that's
as
why
someone
I'm
who
just
works in casting, I don't love hearing that. But fundamentally...
Sorry. Because it takes so much education, and they just haven't had the time to be educated in the same way the older ones have.
Oftentimes, in order to be a really good actor, it involves having lived a life and being able to pull on your real-world experiences.
Yes.
That's absolutely true, and
And mastering your craft.
That's true, but also in terms of, like, pulling people into a story, sometimes if you want to make a movie for kids, it has to be with kids in it. And that's not always true.
Is this a movie for kids?
It's not, but Ella Enchanted was written for children. Okay. So theoretically, the movie, while being able to be enjoyed by adults... It shouldn't just be the Ella Enchanted movie for adults, no kids allowed.
I wasn't gonna make it for adults, but maybe I was gonna consider like that adults would want to see this.
Like I just talked about how I loved Wild Robot. That's a movie theoretically. That's a family friendly movie. That's the term, family friendly.
I guess so. Yeah, okay, it would be a family friendly movie. I guess with the. Sorry, because I was no disrespect to children, but I wasn't even thinking about the audience when I was raising it. Because I was like, I'm still coming at it from a very territorial.
It's Ella Enchanted After Dark.
Wow, no, like again,
Ella Enchanted in the evening.
I hate you.
This bitch does what she's told. Ella Enchanted. Let's get fucked up.
Oh my god, you're awful. I apologize to all the Ella Enchanted fans out there. That's not what this is.
I hope they're listening.
It have to be After Dark.
It's Ella Enchanted. The audience of Ella Enchanted at the time is usually young, like kids. Middle school teenage girls, and like theoretically that would still be the audience. And so oftentimes that's why I would say, hey.
It's just really funny because I really didn't even consider them.
Yeah, it happens. Don't worry about
it. Okay, I guess. Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that.
But we don't know that. It doesn't matter now. Who was your Char?
Oh, who's my Char? I was gonna say DeFaro Woon Atai, who I don't know if you saw him. He was at the Emmys. He's an actor from Reservation, excuse me, not Reservoir.
DeFaro Unatai.
Yeah.
I have cast him multiple times in this show.
Yeah?
Yeah. He is a good actor he's a good actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's 23, so like theoretically he's a lot closer and you could make him a lot older. He's great. I've used him a bunch in the show. I can't say anything bad about him.
Oh, really?
He's also Canadian. Fully support.
Right on. Yeah, so that would have been like my ideal.
Great.
Yeah.
This is a show all about the ideal.
Okay. Right on.
But yeah, the same sort of vibe, really. Like, theoretically, like, either one of our dudes would work. Mm-hmm. So, I did cast an Uncle Edgar, but because we're not going to have an Uncle Edgar, I'm going to tell you about this character who I cast, and then we're going to cross it off.
Okay.
So, if I was to go someone who was as campy and fun and crazy as Carrie Elwes, I needed someone who was British and can do all those fun, like, miserly doing, like, creeping around in the shadows kind of thing. And obviously the answer to that is Matt Berry.
Oh, from What We Do in the Shadows.
From What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, you're right. He absolutely would have done that role justice.
He would have done that role justice, but unfortunately that role no longer exists.
So sorry, Matthew, but you're talented. We love you.
Yes. So then that brings me to Slannon the Elf, who I don't think will necessarily be her travel companion, but will be a person in the elf village is like, yeah, no, we're fine.
Yeah.
What's your deal? Why would you not want to have a gift? Like,
yeah,
some sort of person in the elves, even if it's not necessarily a travel companion. Hell, I'm even happy if he decides he wants to be a lawyer, despite the fact that I'm guessing that's not in the book.
That's not a thing at all.
It's
and also they made him so irritating in the movie.
Yeah, no, he's bad in the movie.
Yeah.
But I went with a character who is irritating, but in a funny way.
Okay.
I'm guessing you didn't recast Slannon the Elf. I went with... Apparently he was in The Martian. I don't remember him being in The Martian. Everyone knows him from Ted Lasso, though. And this actor's name is Nick Mohammed.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. He's like a very sweetness thing about him.
He's a very sweet guy. He's very funny, but he also, like, he can be very annoying. Like, he does a different bits on 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown.
Yeah.
Where he plays a real weirdo, but he's always, like, charming and lovely and wonderful, and that's why I had to stop watching Ted Lasso, because they're like, no, they're making him a bad guy, no!
They truly did.
I had, and I know, like, he comes back around, but that's why I couldn't watch Ted Lasso anymore, because I'm like, no, he was my favorite character.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't watch this anymore. And I know that there's some people who disagree with that, but, like, it just hurt my heart so much, so I couldn't do it.
I understand.
But anyway, I think he'd make a good Slannon the Elf. Now, the stepsisters can be any age.
Yes. Yeah.
So, let's talk about Hattie and Olive.
Mm-hmm.
So, I went with 2 different actresses who I've seen be good and, like, I've only ever seen them be, like, the good guys. Mm-hmm. And so I think it'd be fun to have them just, like, kind of let loose and just be like, yeah, no, I'm gonna fuck you up.
Okay.
So for Hattie, the stepsister, I went with an actress who potentially might be one of the bigger A-listers on this list. She's in Logan. She's in His Dark Materials. She's in The Acolyte. It's Daphne Keane.
Daphne Keane. Oh, okay. Oh, she honestly kind of looks like Ariana Greenblatt a little bit. But maybe it's just like the dark hair.
Yeah, I mean, that's not relevant. They're stepsisters.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's not relevant at all.
And so then I went with, for Olive, I went with the actress from Godzilla vs. Kong. Apparently she's a Magnum PI. I don't believe she's deaf, but she was raised by deaf parents because she speaks sign language. Mm-hmm. Her name is Kaylee Hoddle.
Oh, she's so cute.
Yeah.
Oh, this is her young. Okay.
Well, I mean, I cast 2 teenagers.
Yeah. No, you're much better at the age casting than I am.
I've been doing this for a long time. But who did you have for the stepsisters?
For the stepsisters, so Leah Lewis is someone that I had chosen. Oh, yes. I saw her in...
How are you spelling Leah?
Leah.
That's why.
I saw her in The Half of It. And that was a Netflix movie that was like a retelling of Cyrano.
Okay.
And I thought she was fantastic.
Great.
I thought she was a great actress. And I was like, I would totally love to see her. And I think she could do the role of Hattie justice.
Dope.
Because in there, she was like kind of the victim. She was the one getting picked on. And in this one, it's like, yeah.
Great.
Olive, my first choice is Louisa Harland. But she is much older. But the reason why I chose her is she's from Dairy Girls. That is where she's most known. But she was so fantastic because in the books, Olive really only cares about food. Like, yes, she like supports, I mean, she doesn't try to stop Hattie and she definitely benefits and doesn't care that Ella's now like a scullery maid, but she just wants her food. Like, she's a hilarious character because she is a one-track mind.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I think Louisa could do it, but I think Louisa's also maybe 30.
She's 31.
Yeah. So it doesn't probably work for this. So I think yours.
Let's replace Daphne Keane, and I think the correct choice for Hattie is Leah Lewis. Yeah, Leah Lewis. Okay. Leah Lewis.
I say Leah, but maybe it is Leah. I'm not sure.
I do not know. And then for Olive, we'll go with Kaylee Hoddle.
Okay, that makes sense.
Great. Mm-hmm. Who do you have for Mandy? The house fairy, the other fairy.
Mandy, in the book, Mandy is like another mother figure. She is tough, but she is like kind of silly a little bit. Like she'll play with Ella, but she is like Ella's protector because her dad is honestly pretty negligent. She's not ordered not to tell her dad about her secret in the book.
Yeah.
He just doesn't ever pay attention to her, so he doesn't know.
Right.
So Mandy's kind of like that person in her life. And so for me, I wanted Justina Machado, who is in One Day at a Time. She played the lead mom. She was also in the horrible, I forgot what it was, but something Dolores Roach on Amazon Prime. And she's just a really, really good actress.
Great.
So I wanted her for Mandy.
Dope. I went with Vanessa Bayer, the SNL actress.
Ah, okay.
Who I like, but I'm more than happy to go with...
campy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe, and I'm more than happy to go with Justina Machado. If you want her to be a surrogate mother figure, I think that Justina Machado very well is probably a better choice.
Okay.
Vanessa Bayer, I leaned into the comedy a little bit more.
Oh, it'd be interesting seeing her in this. I feel like if it was like the Ella Enchanted camp tone that was used in 2004, I could absolutely see her doing a Minnie Driver's role.
Yeah, like that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, cool. So then let's talk about Dame Olga. I can go first for this one, and I was wrong. This is the most famous person that I did in this cast.
Okay.
I was like, okay, we need someone who can be fierce and intimidating and is old enough to have teenage daughters or older, and someone who would marry someone for their title, but like also just someone who is a good actress, and we don't need to see a lot of her to know that's like, oh, you're being bossed around by her. You're not gonna, yeah, do whatever she says. So I just went with Selma Hayek.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see her given that kind of role. I think she would do well in that.
I think she would too.
My person is someone who I've seen in both comedies and dramas, and she could make, I think, a one-dimensional villain. She could give a lot of heart to it.
Yeah.
So I chose her because I think she's just a phenomenal actress who can do it all. I chose Gina Torres from Firefly and Suits. And if I have to tell you any more than that, then y'all just don't care about entertainment. So for me, I was like, Gina Torres is just like, I could see her communicating so much with just a look.
Great.
You know what I mean?
Fully on board. No notes.
Oh, okay.
Gina Torres.
Okay.
Dope. Love it.
Okay.
Great. Cool. Gina Torres is awesome. Let's talk about the dad. I went first for that one, so it's your turn to go first.
Oh, okay. So can you go first, actually? Because
sure.
I didn't even really...
I went for a real pushover.
Oh, okay.
Someone who, like, someone who does what he's told and, like, not because he's under a magical spell, but just because he's like, yeah, no, sure, I need to go get us more money. I'll go get us more money. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to go, yeah, that's fine. Was in New Girl. He's in Safety Not Guaranteed. He's Peter B. Parker in Into the Spider-Verse. I went with Jake Johnson.
Oh, I love him. He's so charming. I imagine, because I have the father from the book in my head, and the father is a bit more selfish.
Sure.
And kind of calculating.
He did a business marriage.
Yes.
Like, he married for love, and then she died, so then he did a business marriage. And even the marriage for love might have been a business marriage, because he married the woman with the title.
I don't think he married Ella's mother for love. Okay. I think it was very much because he charmed her, and she was of nobility.
Sure.
So he was able to use that to his benefit. So, but you didn't have that information.
Yeah.
And in the movie, he actually cares a lot more than in the book.
Yeah, because, like, he's not really relevant to the story, so there's no reason to make him another obstacle / villain. So it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah. The person I was actually thinking of is Hugh Laurie.
Okay,
from
sure.
House, but he's a lot. I
think he's a little bit older.
Yeah, he's quite older, so I'm okay with doing.
Let's do Jake Johnson.
Jake Johnson.
Yeah, that's a fun one though.
Yeah.
So we didn't have Benny the book. That character doesn't exist here.
Did you have a character?
I did.
Yeah. Who was it?
I was like, someone who's just going to be delivering zingers back and forth, and that's enough. Cool, Manny Jacinto from The Good Place.
I wouldn't mind looking at his face more.
So. Yeah, exactly. So like, exactly. I think that'd be very funny, but he is not in this movie.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, Manny.
So the only other character I have left is Lucinda. Are there any other characters I'm forgetting? Because I did forget the friend.
I have the friend.
Okay, remind me what the friend's name is?
Arietta.
Since Lucinda's fun to end on, why don't you tell me about who our Arietta is?
Arietta, for me, is someone who is a bit of a wallflower, but shows grace in terms of, like, when she's dealing with adversity. I actually wanted to go with Lana Condor from To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Yes. A strong second, not that that matters, if you don't mind, can I say?
Please. I don't have anyone.
Strong second was Nicola Coughlan from Bridgerton and Dairy Girls.
Yeah.
She was Penelope Featherington.
I have used Nicola Coughlan here before. Definitely saying no to her. She's 37.
But she can pass for, like...
No, she cannot.
What?
You cannot cast a 37-year-old to play a 15 or a 16-year-old.
She doesn't have any love interest or anything like that.
She's in the same boarding school or whatever as the friend. So, like, how else would she be friends with Ella?
Well, yeah, but there's, like, no inappropriate.
No, I know that.
So what would the issue be with casting
How did this 16-year-old become friends with this 37-year-old?
Well, no, we would say she's 16.
No.
You're just like, no, not buying it?
No.
She passes for 18 in Bridgerton.
Neat. She's surrounded by adults in that show, so it's not weird.
That's true. But all the adults also pass. Well, yeah, I guess. If you put her next to an actual 18-year-old, it'd be like, oh, well, there's a bit of... But she does look incredible.
She looks
I would have
very
put
young.
her at 25 when I first saw her.
I agree.
Yeah.
But not a teenager.
Yeah, okay.
Lana Condor's fine. Lana Condor's 27, but, like, Lana Condor's great. She can play the friend. So let's talk about Lucinda.
Okay.
Would you like me to go first, or would you like to go first?
Please go first.
I want someone who can play a fairy godmother who is absolutely high on her own supply, in her own head, like, I'm great, and no one can ever tell me I'm not great.
Okay.
So obviously you have to go with the person who played Tahani, Jamila Jamil.
Oh, that's so funny.
Like,
that is actually great casting.
Right?
That's fantastic. That is a really, really good one.
Thank you.
That is a really good one. Oh, man, that's a good one. That's a good one. I can see that. I chose someone who plays Flighty really well, but who I also believe to be an incredible actress, and I would be so curious to see what she would do with this role because her range is insane.
Sure.
I chose Stephanie Beatrice from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Great.
And also the lead in Encanto, and she was also in The Heights, where she kind of plays a ditzy character. So I am always amazed at her range, so I would want to see what
she's come up on this podcast so many times before. Everyone loves Stephanie Beatrice.
Yeah.
Correctly so. Yeah. She's great.
Yeah. I think Jamila, though, probably wins in this case.
I think if you're doing a fairy godmother, that might be so.
She killed. Yeah, that's Tahani, actually. That's a great, we know she could kill it.
Yeah. Not that Stephanie Beatrice wouldn't be incredibly amazing at it.
Yeah.
For this, I am going to push us to cast the 17-year-olds for Ella and Char. Pharaoh Wunatai is a swap. I'm happy to go with Ariana Greenblatt and D. Pharaoh Unatai, if that's what you'd like.
It's honestly, for me, I'm just really, like, performance matter, and no disrespect at all to Ariana Greenblatt. I've only ever seen her in Barbie, and I feel like in Barbie, she didn't have as much to do emotionally.
I don't disagree.
So I'm just like, this movie rests on, in my head, the actress's ability to convey everything that needs to be conveyed. So that's why I'm like, I would rather go with a slightly older actress. What about, how do you... Because I have backups. Can we argue for our backups or no? Are we, like, sticking to our main one and then we kind of got to fight?
If every single time someone didn't get the person they wanted, they then was like, but what about this person? And what about this person? Okay. And it happens, and it makes an already hour-and-a-half long episode
you're right.
so much longer.
Okay.
Fundamentally, at the end of the day, if we're making an Ella Enchanted movie, we do have to ask who we're making it for. And I do think, especially now, if you're making it for teenagers and for young adults, it does have to have a young adult in it. Like, if you were going for someone who was 20 years old, I think that would be fine, but I think going to 27, not that there aren't people who are 27 who look great and look like teenagers. I personally, into my late 20s, played an 18 to look younger.
Yeah.
But then you actually put me next to people who were,
of course.
And all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore. And I feel like this story starts to get a little bit more uncomfortable the older the character gets.
I hear what you're saying. I think...
Again, I'm more than happy to do Ella Enchanted After Dark.
Stop. I think the other big issue for me is that as someone who loved these, like, fantasy type stories, representation was also really hard to find. And I know Ariana Greenblatt is a Latina. Yeah. But she is a much lighter skinned Latina.
That's true.
And for me, it's just like, very rarely did you get to see darker skinned anybody, whether it's darker skinned Asians, darker skinned Latinas, darker skinned Black people.
If you can come up with a darker skinned 20-year-old, I'm more than happy to go with them. Like, anyone who loves Ella Enchanted presumably wants a new generation of people to read Ella Enchanted, and they want to be exposed and be given that thing. So, like, that's why, for me, an Ideal Remake is made for the people who you want to make this movie for. It's not just, hey, you already like this. I don't care if someone already likes it. They have the original. A remake, it's to capture the audience again that fell in love with it the first time. Book or movie notwithstanding. And so for me, I don't think casting adults to play kids is a good way to get kids to fall in love with the thing that you're making. So if you had someone that in mind that's like, okay, fits like we'll go 17 to 20 because we'll figure out who we want to do for Char in a second. To play your Ella, do you have someone else on your list who potentially fits that age range?
Yes, I would go with Marseille Martin. Who is she from Blackish.
Okay.
Is probably her most well-known role. She played the role of Diane, the smart, nerdy twin. And she was also in the movie Little.
Yeah, I think that's what I think of her, associate her with, because she's like, oh, she's the child star who got an executive producer credit on this movie Little.
Because she also has a production company, and she produced a show for Disney called Saturdays, which got canceled. But she is a smart young woman.
I mean, her company is called Genius Productions.
Yeah. And she leans into it. So I'd be interested to see what she could do with this role. And I think she has like a confidence about her that I would love to see her character kind of end up with.
Great.
So I think she would do it justice.
All right. So then if we're going with Marseille Martin, are we going with Rafael Alejandro or Di Ferro Unitai?
I say we'll give Raphael a chance.
Okay.
I think he, from the way you talked about it, and also Wild Robot, I'm so curious to see his performance in there.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a voice actor, so it's not like you're seeing him in the movie, but like, that movie deserves all the awards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will.
So that's our cast. That brings us to writer and director. So I have a separate writer-director. Do you have separate or hyphenate?
You go first.
Okay.
Because I need a second. I did not.
If you don't have people for it, I'll just tell you.
We'll just go with yours. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't even think about it. I'm sorry.
It's fine. So for the writer, I went with someone who was a writer on The Magicians, on You, on Physical, on Supernatural.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I went with Sarah Gamble.
Okay. Oh, Sarah Gamble. Yeah, I've heard her name before.
Yeah.
I've seen her work.
Literally, I've had multiple conversations in the last week or two where, like, everyone's like, oh my God, Sarah Gamble's great.
Yeah.
And, like, she does fantasy, she does romance, she does all these different things, and I feel like she would have fun doing Ella Enchanted. And for this, I was like, you need a female writer.
Yeah.
So, female writer, Sarah Gamble, that seemed like the way to go.
Yes.
And then I didn't have a better idea for director, and I know that we no longer have music in this, but I did go with the musical director.
Oh, okay.
He was the director for Chicago, for Into the Woods.
Ah, okay.
For The New Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
For The Mary Poppins Returns. Mm-hmm. Rob Marshall.
Okay.
I'm open to other people for the director, because,
Yeah.
I went with the musical guy.
Okay.
And ours version is not a musical.
Actually, you know what? I did have a director in mind. I forgot. This is someone who has done, adventure with, magic. Like, she's also done love stories, coming of age, and it's Gina Prince Bythewood. And she is the director of Love and Basketball. And more recently, she directed Old Guard for Netflix with Charlize Theron, which I thought was fantastic.
It's an excellent movie.
If
you haven't seen it, I'm not going to call it high art, but I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, she added so much depth to it. And then I think also she did The Woman King.
Great, yeah.
Which I hadn't seen that one, but from what I had seen, just from her previous work, I think she's an incredible director. I think she would give this story justice, and I think she would get to the heart of it. So I would trust her with it.
Fully on board. So then that is our Ella Enchanted cast. Let me take you through it. Ella is going to be played by Marseille Martin. Char is going to be Rafael Alejandro. Slannon will be Nick Mohammed. Hattie will be Leah or Leah Lewis. Olive will be Kaylee Hoddle. Mandy will be Justina Mikado. Dame Olga will be Gina Torres. Dad, whatever the dad's name is, will be Jake Johnson. Arietta will be Lana Condor. Lucinda will be Jamila Jamil. All of this will be written by Sarah Gamble and directed by Gina Prince Bythewood.
Yay!
That is Ella Enchanted. Sabine, are you going to go see this movie?
I absolutely will see this movie. I think I'd be so happy. I think it would restore a piece of my heart that maybe had been lost since... not lost. I'm sorry. I'm being dramatic. But
like there's not a time to be dramatic than talking about Ella Enchanted. One of the most times to be dramatic that there's ever been.
I think it would satisfy a piece of my soul, because then I really do enjoy the Anne Hathaway version as a separate entity, but I would love to see what could be done with the book. So,
hell yeah. Great.
Thank you for this, Sam.
You're
I
very
appreciate
welcome.
it.
We've reached the end of the episode. Why don't you tell everyone who's listening about where they can find you online, what you'd like them to do or watch or whatever?
I don't really have much of an online presence, but I just highly recommend checking out Dairy Girls, even though Sam and I talked about he's not a fan. I love Dairy Girls.
I think it's great. It's just not for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I was so amazed. I ended up falling in love with it. My friend had to convince me to watch it because I watched the pilot and I was like, oh, okay, that was good. But I didn't really continue with it. She kind of sat me down. And then by the end of season 1, I was in love with it. And I was just so charmed by these girls and Dylan, who is the unofficial Dairy Girl. But it was such a sweet, funny show where these women were just hilarious. They were so funny, and it was so, like, I love the way they told a story about growing up in a time of war and made it about just growing up. So, loved it.
Good. If you're interested in finding me, I am online at BlueSky at Sam Gasch, SamGasch, or you can find me on Instagram at Ideal Remake, just like the podcast you're listening to right now. That is the episode. So we will end this episode the same way we end every episode. Semien, what is your favorite quote from the movie or book, Ella Enchanted?
Drop that crown!